we get a postcard in the mail at our church in Durant, Oklahoma. And it was this woman who said, after you guys prayed for me, you're never going to believe this. And we were on Skid Row in LA a couple of years ago. And Skid Row is a pretty horrendous place. It's a pretty terrible place. And we were packing up to leave, and I sat down, and I'm pretty good at making conversation with people. And I sat next to a lady that I thought was another volunteer. And I sat beside her, and I started talking to her, and she just started crying. And she starts to tell me that this was her first night in Skid Row, and that she didn't want to be there, and all of these things. And I remember looking at her thinking, I don't have anything to give her. I cannot bring her back with me. I cannot put her in a hotel room. What do I have to give her? And I sat beside her, and I just asked, can I pray with you? And I remember in that moment, if I'm being really honest, prayer felt like a really small thing to give her, because I wanted to be able to give her something tangible. I wanted to be able to give her a solution. I wanted to be able to fix her problems. Are there any fixers in the room where you feel like you're in front of a need and you physically want to give somebody something that can bring relief? And God is not just a God that brings relief. The Father is a God that brings healing. And I sat, and our group started to pray for her. And I remember getting on the bus, and it was probably one of the hardest, honestly, things that I had experienced, because I looked at her, and your rate of being sexually assaulted on Skid Row after your first night is astronomical. And I remember looking at this lady who did not belong here, who I was having to leave there. I had nothing else to do, and all that I could give her was a prayer. And I got on that bus, and I cried for hours, because I'm like, Lord, what was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of that? And I'll never forget the look of just terror in her eyes. And we prayed for her, and we left. And that was what I thought was the end of the story. We're in Los Angeles. We're flying back to Durant, Oklahoma. And the next day, we don't see her again. But we believed as a group for her to have a divine encounter with the Lord, a miracle. And we fast forward months. We get a postcard in the mail at our church in Durant, Oklahoma. And it was this woman who said, after you guys prayed for me, you're never going to believe this, but someone gave me a cell phone. I got a hold of my aunt that I have not talked to in years. She came and got me, and she picked me up, and I never spent a night on Skid Row.